Hey, what's up, guys? I want to fill everyone in with a little update about where my headspace has been, as well as some others. I'm here in Bali, back in Bali with Derek. So he and I are spending, tons and tons of time, thinking really big picture stuff. We have Maya now on board, helping us with the really big picture. LJ's investing a lot of herself into the big picture, and actually Lydia now as well. So I want to communicate a lot of what we're talking about to you guys. The thing, and this sounds simple, but it's actually massive. The thing that is absorbing my headspace is I want to restore the passion and ultimately the day-to-day enjoyment that we used to have in our NOVAEO team, years ago, back before our Amazon store suspension. And so, we're working with Maya to kind of tell her what was going on back then. And a lot of it just had to do with the fact that we were a much, much smaller team. So, we got to know each other on a personal level. We had, we kind of knew what each other's personal dramas were that were going on, and we knew a lot about what each other were what we were all working on. Even if someone in supply chain still had a general understanding of what we were doing in marketing, more so than today, and vice versa. Everyone just kind of had a little bit of a better understanding of what each other was working on. We felt each other's energy a lot more. So it was uplifting. Sometimes you have one of those days where you're just like a total slug, but when you feel everyone else cranking away, even if you're in a different time zone, it's like if I woke up and I felt sluggish, but a bunch of the Philly team members that were 12 hours ahead of me, time zone wise, really cranked during their daytime, and I see all this momentum, and it's it was inspiring to me. So it's pulled me out of my sluggish mode, that kind of stuff. And so ultimately we want to restore that. We really enjoyed it. And not that we're in this really terrible space right now, but the bottom line of NOVAEO is and always will be happiness, which is so cheesy and vague, but it's true. The bottom line profit is only a resource for us to create happiness. And ultimately, we create happiness through gaining a sense of fulfillment in how we spend our time. That's my equation for happiness is if you look back on whatever time or energy you invested into something and you think it was a good investment, you will be happy in the present moment. If you are looking ahead to some kind of growth or progression or new experience or something along those lines, you will feel happy in the present moment. So that's what we need to restore, a sense of fulfillment. And as simple as that sounds, it's actually a very massive thing. We have to build our organizational structure, our business management systems, so that's accountability systems, reporting systems, communication systems, IT systems, all that stuff, and even our culture to support each individual feeling fulfilled, on a day-to-day basis, on a week-to-week basis, on a yearly basis, for us to feel fulfilled. So what does that mean? Well, right now we're talking about a bunch of stuff. One of those things that we're talking about on the more businessy side of things, and this is really where Maya is gonna shine for us, is we need to rein in some of our systems. Honestly, we've been so relaxed really since forever that it's kind of human beings, we seek freedom, but then when we have infinite freedom, we actually tend to find ourselves in some state of like unhappiness because we lose that sense of ownership of stuff, that sense of fulfillment. We lose a sense of like, we kind of just like end up feeling lost a little bit. Like maybe some of you guys feel a little bit lost in your role, not really too sure, like either A, like even what it is, like how you're supposed to do, carry out your tasking. Some of you might be in that world. But at the very least, like how does your role fit into this massive, bigger picture that is NOVAEO? And that's what we need to restore. So on like the businessy side of things, we need to overhaul our systems. So like a big one is reporting. I always want to have our end goal, culturally and organizational structurally, to have as much autonomy and individual freedom as possible. Like that's the NOVAEO way. For us to get there from where we're at today, we're going to need to tighten up a little bit. And then once we like really, get ourselves under control a little bit and get, more efficient, more effective, there's not as much like chaos or confusion, that kind of stuff, then we'll move in a direction that gives us, more and more autonomy. And now, if you're like, oh fuck, here we're about to go corporate or something like that. No, it's not, we're not gonna do anything drastic. Really just like a general tightening up so that everyone should know what everyone else's inputs are. Like how hard is how hard is Brandon working? How hard is Derek working? How much time is being invested and where is that being invested? That's good knowledge for everyone to have at every individual level to help understand the bigger picture. What value is being created, from that investment at the individual level and at the pod level or project level. These are things that are going to help us gain a better sense of fulfillment in general. So, hang on. Okay, cool. So, more specifically, we're looking at even like the platforms that we use. So, our main platforms are Asana, Slack, Voxer, Loom, sort of right now. I feel like I'm missing one, but anyway, we're gonna take, a look at EverHour for time tracking. We're gonna take a look at all of these and consider alternatives or even just changing platforms in general, which will ultimately change our culture and how we work together. So for example, Derek was introduced to an app called, I keep on saying Huddle, but I think that's a different one. Let me check real quick what that app is called. Okay, Tandem. So actually, yeah, if any of you guys have ever used Tandem before, could you respond in the comments or in the thread? But ultimately, what it looks like Tandem can do for us is it creates like virtual office rooms. Which I know is kind of funny. It's like, the big push is to get away from the office, but there's human beings are funny. We always like circle back around to stuff. Now there's a push to make virtual offices. And for those that were around, if you guys remember me asking, like, does anyone have any knowledge about any kind of app or platform that can create, virtual rooms for us to hang out in? And basically the answer was no, with the exception of, I think like Java or Jupiter, or maybe Carl mentioned something that like in the gamer community that there was something. But ultimately what this app's gonna let us do, as I understand it, is we can have different rooms. We can have a supply chain room, we can have a social media room, an Amazon pod room, so basically like a room for each pod, and just like leave the rooms open, they're always there, and then we can basically join them and work inside of them so that we can be typing to each other or even, very easily just communicating to each other face to face. And I think restoring that dynamic is going to be huge for energizing us and making us ultimately happier. And then, on the business side of things, much more productive. And I think that's going to be really cool. So in line with that, I also want to start designating days of the week in which there's going to be an enhanced focus on a particular pod or pods, more at like the master level, like the highest level of pod. So I'm just making this up off the top of my head. This isn't going to be accurate, but let's say like supply chain. That's a huge master pod. So like on Mondays, there's going to be enhanced focus on supply chain. On Tuesdays, customer engagement is a smaller master pod, and like B2B sales is a smaller master pod, and maybe even like accounting is a bit of a smaller master pod. So maybe on Tuesdays, those three get a lot of focus. And what that ultimately means is what's a lot more attention, a lot more focus. So we would have the reports due, and again, we're going to be beefing up our reporting system. Reports would be in either like the night before or I guess like the morning of, so that as a team, it doesn't have to be the whole team, I don't mean that, I mean like there are a lot of us that float around different master pods. I mean, obviously I do, but then a lot of the Harmony members float around, and then even a lot of just the individuals, like even if you're in marketing, depending on your role in marketing, there's supply chain knowledge that you need to have, what's going on in the supply chain world. So basically, we can have what we've always talked about, pod parties. Pod parties are, if a meeting is like much more formal. Okay, we're gonna meet at 2 p.m. tomorrow, don't be late, everyone must attend, that kind of thing. Pod party is, hey, let's all try to be online and accessible from the window of like 11 a.m. till 5 p.m. on Tuesday. And so basically that's what we'll do, is we'll set up pod parties in these virtual rooms for us to all jump in and out of and connect, and really increase that level of like personal working dynamic, I guess we can call it that. And that'll give everyone an opportunity where if there's any confusion, no matter how detailed, like even like the most detailed task, like small task, if there's confusion, you can ask about it. If there's curiosity about big picture, you can ask about it. But ultimately, like we're gonna really just be exchanging energy to grow the pod, make it more productive, more happy, more efficient, more effective. All these positive words. So let's see, what else? Yeah, so also on the reporting, as I mentioned before, we want to, is that all on Tandem? Well, yeah, let me stay there. So actually, we need to figure out what day of the week to do, or days of the week to do which stuff. I guess I guess probably I'm the best person to draft something up initially. So I'm going to draft like a rough draft of what I think would be good for days of the week. Some stuff just makes sense to have earlier in the week, some stuff later in the week. Like product development and supply chain should both be earlier in the week, I think. Anyway, once I draft that up, then I'll send it out. And if anyone, because we want to basically move into a phase where it's like, okay, if the pod party is, for supply chain is Mondays, then we want to find a chunk of time in which we are all able to be online. So I'll send it out, and some of us might have to adjust our schedules a little bit. Be vocal if you have like a hard, can't adjust the schedule for any reason. Because we'll try to evolve everything to make sure that we don't, change anyone's lives in a negative way too much. But even aside from these like 1 day a week things, I'd really like Tandem to take off in general, so it's not just 1 day a week pod parties, but ultimately what would be sweet is if we we're pod partying at the pod level pretty much every day. So like if social media, if you guys are like, yeah, look, like let's every day, Monday through Friday, try to all be online together at least between the hours of like 12 and 2. Like that's how I really want things to start flowing. Okay, so we'll also be doing reporting at the pod level. So every pod will have its own like reporting template and a person designated for doing the reporting. And not necessarily at like the sub-pod level, but at the master pod level, I'd really like for everyone to view it, because that's going to help everyone get an understanding of what's going on in our business. That's important to have. That's how you develop pride and passion. And at the individual level, basically, well, this is really more Maya's world, but my thoughts are, we want everyone to be focusing on, what happened the previous week. I'm picturing Monday reports. I think Monday is going to be I know a lot of people do reporting on Friday, so I'm thinking Monday. That way it's like, it connects us to the previous week. Because, let's face it, over the course of a weekend, even just like 2 days break is enough to like totally forget like, what the hell happened last week? I don't remember. So by doing Monday reports, we'll talk about, what our previous week was. And this is at the individual level. So pod reports won't necessarily be weekly. It's all going to just depend. And that's going to be, talking about the project itself. Individual reporting is, at the individual level. We're going to talk about like what we did as individual levels previous week and what's coming up the week ahead of us. And so I think mostly I'm still picturing like screencasting Asana for that, so you can talk out like what your completed tasks were, really focus on, what took the most time, help that you received from other people, like obstacles that you were faced and whether or not you were able to solve them, and if so, how. Shit like that. And then what I'm thinking there is to create some kind of system in which, this is just kind of brainstorm mode right now, but like let's say this week's supply chain watches all of customer engagements, individual like selfie video reports, and customer engagement watches supply chains. Next week, Amazon Pod watches customer engagements, and customer engagement watches Amazon Pod. And the point here again is to get to know each other more and to have a better understanding of what it is that everyone does. So I think that'll be really cool too. So that'll happen at the individual level. Other platform changes, we're going to try to find a better time tracking app than EverHour. It's, I don't know, EverHour is just kind of like clunky, and I know a lot of people are just like throwing time at, like if your time equals exactly 40 hours a week every week, which a lot of people are doing, then it's like, okay, you're obviously not really tracking your time. There's no way it can equal exactly 40 hours. And for now, that's fine. We're gonna do an overhaul, so don't worry about making too many changes right now with what you're doing. But the point of time tracking, I know like at the individual level, you think, oh, micromanagement, like, oh, here we go, corporate style. They don't trust us. They want, blah blah blah. They want to look over our shoulder, micromanage. It's not about that. Well, actually, I don't want to lie. There is a little bit about that. We all need a little bit of accountability. Even those of us that are the most self-accountable people fall into phases. Those sluggish days, but sometimes those sluggish days end up being sluggish weeks or even months. So like we need a little bit of accountability like all of us do, even beyond self-accountability. What I want NOVAEO to evolve into is where we don't have managerial accountability, we have self and peer. So basically, we hold each other accountable. So there is an element of that with time tracking. We can't not have that. I mean, it would be unfair to those of us that are like really give a shit about NOVAEO if we get get 5 new recruits next week and none of them really give a shit, and they're just lying about their time or whatever. That's going to become toxic, and it's going to eventually just lower our energetic state at the individual and therefore the collective level. But more importantly than that like accountability aspect of time tracking and just like and the reporting and all that stuff in general is multiple things. For one, like we have mentors on the team, people that have more experience or more knowledge of how to do something, or creative people that have other ideas on how to do a particular task. I'm definitely one of those people. So if I'm looking at like Derek's time, and it shows that he spent 5 hours on some task, and I'm like, man, I could probably do that in about an hour. Then I could talk to Derek and figure out why it took him 5 hours. And when these conversations happen, I don't want you guys to feel like if it's me talking to you, I don't want you to feel like that I'm like pushing you in a negative way or anything. The more value every individual creates, and this is another part of like why we want to be reporting and all, I want everyone to be making more money. Seriously. Like, I really want this to be a team where it's like, holy fuck, like, everyone's rich. Like I've said this numerous times, but for those of you that are new, goal number 1 is make everyone, bring in people at a good market value salary, income, I like saying. Then get them above market value. And then next phase is to have everyone, whatever economy that you came from when you signed in, like when you first started with NOVAEO, so whether it's Philippines, Mexico, US, whatever, I want to make you wealthy, live in abundance within that economy. Then the next phase after that is to be able to travel anywhere in the world that you want to. So if you're Filipino or or Indian or Mexico, these are all economies that, the salaries being paid, it makes it hard to travel to a place like Dubai, which is like, pretty fucking expensive, or like New York City. For you to be able to make enough money to be able to make those travels and gain those sorts of life experiences. And then the final step is we don't even worry about whatever economy that you came from. Everyone's just making good money. But I mean, it's going to take time to get there, and it's going to take work, and it's going to take effort, and it's going to take passion, and it's going to take system building for us to get there. But so anyway, that's a huge goal for me. What was I talking about? How'd I get there? I need some water anyway. Hold on, guys. Oh, word. All right. So I was talking about, the different values that we get from reporting and time tracking, that kind of stuff. So, the first and a little bit, it has more of a negative feeling to it, but it really won't be, because we'll be operating more efficient and effective, and that makes us happier, is the accountability aspect. Then the next layer is the mentoring aspect. If someone can see where a significant investment of time and attention is going and can help that person become more efficient and effective, well, then that person is going to be able to create more value. And if that person's going to be able to create more value, then they're going to be able to receive more value, increased income. And that's a really important thing that I want to change in the next 3 to 4 months. Is I want every individual to have some kind of targets on a month-to-month basis to work towards, and if you hit those targets, to get a really substantial bonus. So ultimately, increasing everyone's income a good amount, but it's not going to come at the cost of, the money that NOVAEO currently has. It's going to come from increased productivity through these systems, not increased time. I'm not asking anyone to start losing sleep or anything like that. No, it's to help each other work more efficient with the time that you're already investing, the energy that you're already investing. So that's going to be a huge aspect of it. And then, let's see, what's the third one? There's definitely a third one. Accountability, mentorship. Oh, yeah, and budgeting and costing. So if you guys remember, I talked about the NOVAEO ecosystem that we want to create. And so basically, right now we have more or less one master entity, Ley Luna, that does all of our business functions. Well, we're going to need to move that to SA Phoenix LLC, one of our other entities, the one that's in Puerto Rico. And then we're going to lock off each function of our business and create a separate entity for that function. So Ley Luna is going to be just basically supply chain, or really the warehouse, manufacturing product. Then we'll create our customer engagement pod, will become a customer engagement agency. And then, Amazon marketing agency, social media agency, bookkeeping and accounting agency, legal back-end services, agency or whatever. So basically all these things are going to be separate entities. And then we can establish, a CEO, someone that's going to concentrate just on that smaller like sub entity that's floating around in the NOVAEO ecosystem, the NOVAEO bubble, in order to grow it, in order to improve it, and to find clients, so it can become a monetized system in itself. So right now, like our customer engagement agency, it just supports our product brands. But once it becomes an agency, we can find other clients that we can do work for and build another income system. And then when we do that, we can create profit share at that level for our customer engagement team so that they're getting a portion of the profits that are generated from these clients. I'm telling you guys, I'm very serious about trying to get everyone's income up significantly from where it's at now, and in a way that doesn't tax us anymore. Ultimately, if anything, I want us to be less stressed, less anxious, less overwhelmed, whatever, any like negative feelings that you might have. I want us to be signing into NOVAEO each day like stoked, like excited because of the people that you're working with, or the whatever the project is that you're creating, the value that you're creating, to be excited about that. So that's what this big push is going to be about. It's going to come in the form of new systems, platforms, working dynamic systems, cultural systems, all that stuff. So, let's see what else here. So something else I want to start getting us rolling in that's going to add a whole lot more fun is to get our NOVAEO social medias rocking and rolling. And so that, in fact, I'm even expecting for us to do more like updates for each other. So like, Daniel doing a supply chain masterpod report, he can do one via selfie video just like this. And then that can be put on our social media, so long as, we don't have any sensitive information. Obviously we're not going to display anything that could be giving up our competitive advantage, or if there's any like legal shit or whatever that we have to worry about. But aside from that, that can start being how we communicate to each other, but like allow the public to see it. So it's almost like our NOVAEO social media can be one of our communication platforms or systems, and we're just allowing the public to see it. And that'll be really cool. And we even want to bring in like our manufacturing, like our warehouse into social media, start creating videos. Actually, I think Cardell created one not too long ago about one of our Iodara products being manufactured. And that's pretty cool. Like the general public wants to see that. And honestly, I think you guys will enjoy seeing that, assuming, those of you that are in supply chain are already a little bit closer to that. But like say you're, again, customer engagement, to actually like see how the product is made. Some people have absolutely no clue on how a product such as this gets created. We have to source, we source these tops. Well, actually not this particular product, but if we were to manufacture this product ourselves, which we don't, we'd be sourcing the tops, the bottles, the labels. We have to create the art for the label. We have a machine that, puts the label on. We have, machine that fills, all that stuff. And it's kind of cool at the end of the day, it's like 6 different people that we have to buy stuff from. Like the person that we get the tops from might be different than the person that we get the bottles from, is different than the person that we get the labels from, is different than where we get the raw materials from, so on and so forth. So to really start getting our social media rock and rolling, so Charmaine and Anne Louise, obviously Lydia, like that'll be something that we really want to get going soon. Like Anne Louise, I can imagine you having some pretty cool ideas with how to turn talking about NOVAEO and manufacturing and all that stuff into like TikTok reels. It'd be pretty cool. And then for us to engage with each other in social media will also be pretty cool. I'm really just picturing NOVAEO being this basically like a guinea pig for the whole world, in which we're building creative ideas in working dynamics, how we work together to create value, and showing it to the world, and evolving along the way. Okay, so maybe the past few years our systems were a little too lax, where we, a lot of us had confusion in our roles, or the fact that like we didn't have to be working that much made some of us not work that much, and if you're not working that much, then all of a sudden you start losing a sense of fulfillment. So like this is all stuff that we can even be talking about in our social media, so that yeah, like our different followers would be, I guess, a couple different types of people. It'd be people that want to like kind of live vicariously through us. You know, like a lot of people are still stuck in those like 9 to 5 like shitty jobs that they just, even if they're remote workers, just, you know, kind of stressed about and just don't gain a sense of satisfaction and fulfillment from it. So to be observing a team that is so centric on the happiness of the individuals that it's comprised of would be, you know, really interesting to them. Then of course there's going to be like other blossoming like employers, I'll just call it, whether it's, you know, like young entrepreneurs or people in like high leadership positions of, you know, existing businesses that can, you know, have a say in their work culture or their organizational structure. You know, they can be viewing us too and seeing like, man, like these guys have a really unique system, a really unique culture, and they're killing it. You know, maybe we should be taking a page out of their book. Their employees are super happy. They're making, you know, fuck tons of profits. They're donating those profits to charity. All their employees are living in abundance. They share those profits, you know, blah, 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 blah. So that's what I really want to start creating for us, is a sense of pride. So really it's, you know, I like the word radiate. Build something awesome and then radiate it out to the world. You know, build our energy and build so much of it that it's just like radiating out of us like the sun, you know, just warming the world with it. So let's see, what else? Individual happiness. Oh, I also want people to start having more of a community voice, a collective voice. So, you know, as we start rolling out new systems, whether it's a reporting system or we have some new platform, like maybe, you know, Tandem, to talk about it. What's your experience like? You know, this isn't supposed to be like a dictatorship in which whatever Brandon says goes. Not at all. It's supposed to be like, you know, everyone's meant to have a voice in this. And so we need to, if you have a voice, you should use it and be vocal about, you know, what's awesome, what's not, any changes that we make. If you're hating it, then talk about it, you know? So for us to increase basically this like communication at the team level. I'm also working on our like schedule of perks. I still don't really like the word perk, but that works for now. So we have all kinds of cool shit on there. I've talked about this before. You know, the first one that we're going to launch is call it like the NOVAEO products, everyone getting free products every now and then. We have the cryptocurrency, like retirement fund idea. I have a call with my friend that I've always had in mind for like our general wellness mentor. So that would be the person whose job it is to basically talk to every single individual. I mean, this will probably be more like you know, once you've been with the team for like a couple of years or something, because, you know, having one person trying to do this for, you know, 80 people is going to be impossible. But, you know, talking to every individual and basically putting a plan together of what would make you more well, physically well, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, which, you know, if you're an atheist, that's fine. I used to be one too, but spirituality in atheism is basically studying physics. Like everyone should have like a focus on spiritual wellness, understanding what your place in the world is and what the purpose is, even if it's nothing, even if you believe that's nothing. Well, study physics and learn more about that. Definitely digressing on that a little bit. But anyway, so yeah, this guy Corey, bring him into the team. He'll come up with custom plans, like unique to you. What is the one area of wellness that you are super lacking that would have, you know, a massive dramatic effect on your overall wellness? So like if you're not sleeping, if you're a cigarette smoker, you know, stuff like that. These are like very obvious things that would be great to change about your life in order for you to be more well. And then for us to create incentives around it, like bonuses, like you hit your wellness goal for the month, boom, $200. You know, which, yeah, I want it to be like a pretty nice chunk of money, so it actually, you know, inspires us to actually do the stuff. So that'll also be a huge push to making us more happy, generally happy. And it'll make great content for us to be sharing on social media. That's what I'm talking about. Like we're gonna do all this cool shit, and then we gotta radiate it, right? Let me gather some more thoughts. One sec. I think that's pretty good for now. So just like a little recap. Big focus on increasing the overall happiness at the individual and therefore collective level through things like changing up our platforms, called a platform stack. Changing up our platforms, changing up how we use the platforms, increased communication systems like reporting systems, building our brand social media and engaging on there. Plus, there's the creation of the content for it. It'll be really cool. Every individual having a bigger voice in the team and using it. And then the pod party. Yeah. Am I missing something? I think that's basically the gist, right? So yeah, let's really shift this around. I mean, not that we're in like some kind of terrible state right now, but I don't feel that we are unique right now. And NOVAEO is meant to be unique. We're meant to be different. We're meant to be better. We're basically we're pioneering the way that all other businesses, and maybe even other sorts of, maybe even like governments and shit like that, but at least all other businesses should follow the NOVAEO path. But we're guinea pigging it. We got to create, we got to test, got to analyze, and then tweak. So that's going to be these next couple months, feeling a lot of change. And if you're one of the people that have been kind of like a lower energetic state for a while, especially with regards to NOVAEO, smack yourself in the face a little bit, snap out of it, start bringing your A game, because as soon as you start bringing that energy back and you start radiating yourself, other people are going to feel it. You're going to make other people happier. You're going to make other people more productive. And then those people are going to start radiating, and then they're going to throw it back your way. And then you're going to feel them being happier and more productive. And we're going to get in a little feedback loop of happiness. Cool. If anyone has any ideas on anything, if you had a previous employer that had some pretty cool shit going on that you liked a lot and other people liked a lot, share it. If there's other platforms that you think would be good for us to take a look at, share it. Notion is going to be a big one for us. For those of you that have Notion experience, use that voice. All right? And, so the past several months, we've still been losing money. So profit share doesn't really do much for us when we're losing money. But as soon as we turn this corner, I want to start putting money, like a percentage of profits each month, into an account that we're going to use for our team meetup. For those of you that are veterans, like when we did that shit several years ago, that was awesome. And if we can do stuff like that, maybe like a grand meet where it's the whole team meeting up, like every 2 years, maybe, and then have smaller meetups where it's like, all of the people in India I know everyone in India, in the I team, you guys are all working in the same office anyway, but maybe go do a cool event, go travel somewhere together, over the course of a couple days, whatever, and do something cool. Didn't you guys do whitewater rafting or something one year? That was pretty cool. And then all the Filipinos, I know you guys are on different islands, so you're still probably gonna have to fly to each other and whatever, but do stuff like that. And then our warehouse team, we can do something cool for all of you guys, travel oriented. Yeah, I really want to get that started. That'll be one of our perks that we launch. Yeah, if there's any other perk ideas, we have a ton more ideas in a list, but if any of you guys have a specific perk idea, no matter how creative, go ahead and share it. The healthy meal delivery, that's a really cool one. So basically, there's all in a lot of parts of the world, there's all these meal delivery services where once or twice a week you get a bunch of meals delivered that you just need to reheat in the oven or microwave. And for those of you that live in a part of the world that doesn't have that, we'll find like local personal chefs. So like the private chef can go to the grocery store and pick out a bunch of shit, batch cook, a week's worth of meals, and then deliver it to you. That'll be a really cool perk too, all with the mindset of, the stuff being healthy. So anyway, 40 minutes long. It's not my longest one. Thanks for watching. Use your voice. Use your voice.